Named David, living in bustling Chicago, I led a quintessential, meticulously planned middle-class life. I held a respectable job as a senior project manager at a well-known marketing firm, with a generous salary and a bright future. My wife, Leah, was a gentle and kind elementary school teacher. We'd been in love for years, sharing beautiful dreams for the future, buying a house with a yard in the suburbs, getting a golden retriever, and having one or two adorable kids. My life was like a finely tuned clock, every minute and second filled with rationality, discipline, and anticipation for the future. Gambling? Not even spending $2 on a Powerball ticket at a convenience store was worth it to me. I'd mentally calculate if that money could be better spent elsewhere. Football? Basketball? Those were just noisy background distractions on TV, completely out of sync with my precise life plan. Yet, in the summer of 2014, a tiny crack appeared in my orderly world. The World Cup fever swept the globe and infiltrated my office. Colleagues who usually wore suits and discussed KPIs and market shares suddenly transformed into passionate soccer fans and amateur betting analysts overnight. In the break room, in the hallways, even during the few minutes of chit-chat before meetings, the talk was always about odds, upsets, and which team would lift the trophy. They set up a WhatsApp group, sharing dubious insider tips and carefully calculated betting slips daily. At first, I scoffed at it, thinking it was utterly childish and a waste of time. But as the tournament progressed, the collective frenzy began to exert an irresistible pull. I went from an outsider to a passive observer, then to someone whose curiosity started to stir. Finally, one Friday afternoon, a few core colleagues gathered around my desk, half joking, half serious, urging me to join them. One of them, Jack, our sales director and the ringleader of this little betting circle, slapped my shoulder and said, "David, don't be so uptight. Life needs some passion. This isn't gambling, it's about being part of the vibe. Just buy some fun." Egged on by him, I agreed, half reluctantly, with a mindset of fitting in. Jack eagerly recommended a flashy overseas online betting site, its interface glittering with tempting odds and new user bonuses. That afternoon, I used my credit card to place a $20 bet on an inconsequential group stage match. I still vividly remember that moment. I told myself it was just $20, the cost of a lunch, no big deal if I lost, just a ticket to some workplace bonding. I never imagined that this $20 click would be the first domino to topple my entire life. That $20 predictably vanished without a trace, but it stirred something unnameable in me. It wasn't about the money, it was a more complex emotion, pure unwillingness to accept defeat, a feeling that my intelligence had been insulted. Me, a senior project manager who lived by logic and data analysis, making such a poor choice? That stung my pride deeply. So that weekend, in the dead of night while Leah slept, I sat alone at my computer in the study and reopened that website. This time, I wasn't playing for fun, but with a vengeful determination. I studied the odds carefully, picked two matches I deemed sure wins, and with a slight tremble, bet $200. I told myself it was just to win back the $20, to prove I wasn't some clueless amateur. Fate, however, seemed to mock me. Both matches ended in shocking upsets. When I saw the final scores, I felt a physical pang of heartache for the first time, my stomach churning, cold sweat beating on my forehead. This painful loss didn't make me stop. Instead, it was like a drug, flipping a destructive switch deep inside me. I became obsessed with sports betting, transforming from someone clueless about sports into a pseudo-expert who could rattle off injury reports, historical records, and even coaching tactics for Europe's top 5 soccer leagues. That entire year, I was like a man possessed, spending most of my free time studying odds and watching games. By year-end, I was shocked to realize I'd lost nearly $20,000. Later, I consoled myself, thinking soccer was too manipulated and unpredictable. When the site I'd been using got shut down for illegal operations, I paused, and life seemed to return to normal. In 2015, I barely touched gambling, convincing myself it was just a brief, foolish episode. I threw myself into work, earning a promotion with stellar performance. Leah and I started seriously planning to buy our dream house. But in 2016, that dormant devil's seed in my soul sprouted again, triggered by some random spark. Through an ad on an online forum, I discovered a larger, more professional offshore betting site. It offered not just soccer but tennis, horse racing, and even esports, everything. This site was a Pandora's box, opening a new, far more dangerous world. That year, under the guise of work and life, I quietly lost another $10,000. But the real turning point, when I went from a hopeful amateur to an irredeemable compulsive gambler, came in 2017 when I discovered the NBA's in-play betting. In-play betting, or live betting, allows wagers during a game, with odds shifting rapidly based on the action. 1 minute, the Lakers might be favored. The next, Curry hits a three and the odds flip. The thrill and instant gratification were unmatched by pre-game bets. I first tried it on an ordinary night, bored while watching a Chicago Bulls game. I noticed in the fourth quarter, with the Bulls down by 5 but gaining momentum, the site offered tempting odds for a win. On a whim, I bet $1,000. The next few minutes, my heartbeat synced with every shot and foul on the court. Miraculously, the Bulls pulled off a buzzer-beater upset. When my account balance surged, a rush of unprecedented euphoria hit my brain. I felt like I'd found a secret path to wealth. From that day, I was hooked on NBA in-play betting. I began to believe I had a rare gift, an almost mystical ability to read the momentum of a game. I thought I could outsmart the odds set by actuaries and supercomputers. I devised a complex betting strategy, locking myself in the study after work, obsessively analyzing team stats, player form, even referees' tendencies. I grew bolder, with bets climbing higher. I'd sneak bets on my phone while watching movies with Leah, or even during important work meetings, hiding in bathroom stalls, glued to the flashing odds. The clandestine thrill was addictive. At first, luck seemed to favor me. My account grew, easily hitting 5 figures monthly, sometimes over $20,000. It felt intoxicating, and I naively thought I was a one-in-a-million betting genius, earning a side income far surpassing my day job. I started to disdain my stable work, buying Leah a designer bag she'd long wanted and a pricey Swiss watch for myself. Leah was thrilled by my investment talent, and I reveled in the adoration built on lies. In the first half of 2017, I won nearly $50,000, fantasizing about quitting my job to become a professional sports bettor. But every gift from fate comes with a hidden price. Starting mid-year, my luck vanished overnight. My once reliable intuition and strategies became worthless. My mindset collapsed. Each loss drove me to double down in the next game to recoup. This deadly chasing losses mentality trapped me in a vicious cycle. In just a few months, I not only lost the $50,000 in winnings, but also burned through my savings. I grew numb, mechanically pouring each paycheck into the bottomless betting account, barely bothering to track my losses. Thankfully, a shred of rationality kept me from touching credit tools. I was still only gambling with my legal income. Fast forward to 2018 to 2019, my gambling spiraled out of control, costing me over $150,000, nearly all of Leah's and my hard-earned savings. I sought solace in Reddit's gambling recovery forums and anonymous online groups, lurking like a ghost. I greedily read others' tragic stories, using their pain to numb my own guilt and regret, telling myself, "See, some are worse off than me. I'm not the worst." Then, a seeming turning point arrived. Our parents, seeing us getting older, pooled $150,000 to help us with a down payment for our dream home, hoping we'd settle down and build a family. But to me, that money gleamed like dangerous chips, ready to be thrown into the gambling abyss. With our savings nearly gone, I felt a bone-deep fear of losing control and betting this money too. The terror tormented me day and night, robbing me of sleep. In a panic, I made a seemingly rational but cowardly decision. I urgently pushed Leah to house hunt, confusing her with my sudden zeal, which she mistook for a burning desire for a home. We hastily bought a townhouse with a small yard in Chicago's suburbs, putting down the deposit and taking on a 30-year mortgage with thousands in monthly payments. I still recall the complex emotions while signing the loan papers. Relief as if locking the money away cut off my gambling path, but also a suffocating sense of being trapped, the heavy mortgage like a mountain on my heart. I naively thought becoming a mortgage slave would force me to quit. Instead, I planted a more devastating bomb for my future collapse. The pandemic was the catalyst that pushed me into the abyss. Remote work isolated me from the office's social environment, and overwhelming loneliness and boredom amplified my inner demons. Work became repetitive Zoom meetings, and life lost its rhythm and joy. In those dull afternoons and silent nights, the only thrill came from the betting site's flickering odds. After a brutal losing streak, I blew through my entire monthly salary. With a bank account in double digits and looming credit card bills, I felt unprecedented despair. Then, I stumbled across an online lending app, Apex Lend, with its instant approval, fast funds pitch, luring desperate souls like me. To my shock, after scanning my credit history, it offered a $30,000 revolving loan. With a car, house, stable high-income job, and a solid credit score, I had access to a $50,000 credit card limit and this new $30,000 loan. A devilish whisper crept into my mind. Why not borrow $500, win one game, pay it back, and only owe a few bucks in interest? I even felt smug about my clever idea of leveraging funds. But luck didn't come. I started losing, borrowing more to chase wins, $1,000, then $10,000, then $20,000. My once proud credit became a vending machine dispensing poison. When I realized I owed Apex Lend $50,000, the world spun, and I nearly collapsed. The debt was a crushing boulder. Sleepless, I pondered how to repay what I couldn't afford. Then a darker, more vile thought slithered in: my mother's $100,000 retirement savings. That money was her and my father's lifelong savings, their only security for old age. Touching it would destroy my last shred of filial decency. I wrestled with my conscience for countless nights, but fear of debt and the urge to win prevailed. I crafted a seamless lie, calling my mother in another city with a fake casual tone. I told her my company was partnering with a top investment bank on an exclusive executive financial product, far better than her bank's fixed deposits. I swore it was safe and I'd manage it for her, letting her life savings grow. She trusted her successful son implicitly, her voice filled with pride. Without hesitation, she transferred $50,000 to my account. The moment the money arrived, I paid off Apex Lend. Seeing the restored loan limit, I felt a sick sense of relief. But it was fleeting, replaced by crushing guilt and self-loathing. Instead of stopping, I saw this success as a lucky break. With the limit back, my bets escalated to $3,000, $5,000, even $10,000 per game. I told myself one big win would let me secretly return her money, erasing my sins. In my wildest phase, I burned through the $30,000 limit and my last 2 years' $100,000 salary. When every account hit zero, a soul-freezing panic set in. In 2021, on the brink of despair, fate played a cruel joke. For 2 months, my luck was unreal. I won 9 out of 10 bets, hitting improbable odds like a movie gambler with a sixth sense. My bets grew bolder, and in those 2 months, I won back $200,000, the most I'd ever had in my betting account. But this redemption was the final nail in my coffin. It rooted my addiction deeper, feeding a deadly illusion that I could always win with more capital and a bit of luck. Predictably, in the next 2 months, I lost the $200,000 and another $50,000 in crazed, reckless bets. This failure shattered my last scraps of sanity. By early 2022, I'd borrowed from every online lender, legitimate or not, amassing over $400,000 in debt. Worse, I tricked my mother out of her last $50,000 pension with the same investment, lied to cover a $120,000 loan due date. Daily collection calls and emails pushed me to the edge. I thought I'd outsmarted the system by cobbling together money, including from loan sharks, to pay off the $120,000, hoping to restore the limit and juggle debts. But the moment I paid, the platform's risk system flagged me and slashed my limit to zero. That cold $0.00 on my screen shattered all my illusions. My debt was a solid $300,000 with no room to maneuver. Looking back, I'm oddly grateful for that system. If it hadn't cut me off, I'd have thrown another $120,000 into the gambling void. In 2022, I was trapped in a destructive cycle, losing over $10,000 monthly. My entire paycheck vanished into the betting site on payday, gone in a game or two. To sustain this and pay high interest, I lied to borrow from everyone I knew. I paid shady firms hefty fees to cash out my 401k's last few dollars for emergencies, my final safety net for Leah and me. I even took loans against our life insurance policies, squeezing out another $10,000. I'd borrowed from every friend and relative, betrayed every trust, and reached rock bottom. By early 2023, my $300,000 debt ballooned to $400,000 with interest and new losses. Chronic insomnia and stress left me on the verge of collapse. I lay awake, the ceiling a giant web of my sins. I didn't know how to face tomorrow or confess to Leah and my parents. No one, family, colleagues, friends, knew I was a hopeless gambler drowning in debt. I forced smiles, playing the successful man, but the split personality was tearing me apart. I gambled away even grocery money, borrowing $8,000 from colleagues with lame excuses like lost wallet or card hacked. Once, I won a bit and repaid $4,000, but couldn't resist blowing $3,500 of the rest on bets, leaving $500 for a month's meals. My gambling spread from soccer and basketball to anything with quick results: esports, slots, even 30-second online baccarat. The rigged games were obvious. I once lost 17 straight rounds, but my clouded mind refused to quit, always chasing the next win. Occasionally, I'd win $10,000, sparking false hope that my touch was back. But every time, I'd lose it all and more. Facing that mountain of debt, I kept dreaming the platform would let me win $200,000 to clear everything and quit for good. Each fantasy ended in a zeroed-out account and deeper despair. I'll never forget one payday night. At midnight, my addiction gnawed like venomous bugs. Unable to sleep, I rode a shared bike through Chicago's freezing, empty streets, hunting for my bank's ATM for instant deposits. The wind cut like knives, but I felt only feverish desire. Back home at 1 a.m., I poured my warm paycheck into the site. In 20 minutes, the money meant for our month's expenses vanished in obscure tennis matches. That night, lying in bed, despair, regret, and self-loathing drowned me. I even considered jumping off the balcony. My dwindling salary barely covered loan interest. I still owed relatives $80,000. Desperate, I turned to our last asset, our house. Bought in 2019 for $650,000, its value had risen to about $1 million, but the parents' down payment was gone in market swings. Worse, I'd missed 4 months of mortgage payments. I faced a no-win scenario. Selling now wouldn't cover the loan and penalties. Not selling meant foreclosure and auction. Either way, I was doomed. What could I do? In 4 years, my life flipped from hopeful and confident to a bitter, hollow shell. Each paycheck reflexively fed the invisible betting platform, leaving me with never more than $300 cash. I skimped on food and clothes, surviving on cheap office coffee and discounted sandwiches, a ghost wandering the city. At work, I was listless, my performance tanked, and I was called out in meetings. Collection calls drove me to scream at agents. I knew they were just doing their jobs, but I was breaking.